Hello YouTube! I know I last spoke with you only about 2 weeks ago or so on the Tillicum incident, but there is another recent news item that I feel is notable enough for me to give it a special mention, and that is the new Phantom of the Opera musical sequel, which has already arrived in London, and I imagine if it's successful enough there, it will find its way to Broadway and eventually, possibly, to DVD. But I have to tell you, I have some serious doubts about this. I am one of those people who said, okay. I see why you feel bad, oh fans of the Phantom of the Opera who spell your official nickname with a PH, fans. I understand why you feel uncomfortable with Andrew Lloyd Webber going further with this, but I feel like Andrew Lloyd Webber can write however much fan fiction he wants. I mean, it's not like the original Phantom of the Opera is really the original Phantom of the Opera. The Phantom of the Opera has been around for I don't know, about 110, maybe 120 years. So, I don't remember the exact publication date, but I can Google that. Let's see. It was first published as a serialization from September 23rd in 1909 to January 8th, 1910. So it's been almost exactly 100 years prior to the original conclusion of the Phantom of the Opera. And I understand, Andrew Lloyd Webber is not the original Phantom of the Opera. He doesn't decide what's canon and what isn't canon, because the canon has been over for 100 years, I mean, he completely cut important characters and changed names and moved people around, made Madame Geary a ballet mistress, and, he mucked around with the plot a lot, took away Raoul's brother Philip, among other things. And the plot was not nearly as focused on what was going on with Christine and Raoul in the book. Let me just tell you that. There were several chapters of completely boring theater manager conversations. But it was still a very good book, and it was very different from the Broadway musical. And the Broadway musical is a total takeoff from the book. Although, let's face it, the Broadway musical is somewhat more faithful to the book than the silent film with Lon Chaney. I like Lon Chaney. I don't know. I like him. I think he's a very good actor. He's certainly very capable in the makeup department and very expressive. He was great for silent film. I don't know what his voice sounded like, but he was very expressive and he was very theatrical. And I think that the Phantom of the Opera movie from the early 1900s was also a departure from the book. Not faithful to the book at all. Which, it was a lot better than the 40s maybe, or might have been in the 50s. I don't know. It was a really bad other Phantom of the Opera movie that I saw that was just terrible. He had his face burned with acid, and he didn't really write the music. He was just hallucinating that he was a musical genius, and he wasn't really. He was just a poor violinist. That version of the Phantom of the Opera is not attractive to me at all. But I have thoroughly digressed. I feel that anyone who wants to write Phantom of the Opera fanfiction. I mean, who knows, I may write Phantom of the Opera works in the future. I've considered doing it. Because it's just such a fun world, you know. But it does not belong to Andrew Lloyd Webber. It doesn't belong to Frederick Forsyth. It doesn't belong to Susan Kay. It may not even truly belong to Gaston Leroux, because there are rumors that he wrote it about a legend that already existed. But I would give Gaston Leroux credit for the Phantom of the Opera before I would give it to Andrew Lloyd Webber or Susan Kay or Cobbett and Easton, even though they also have an excellent Phantom of the Opera musical, which is a little closer to the book than the Phantom of the Opera by Andrew Lloyd Webber. It's just called Phantom. It's still a departure. Christine's boyfriend's name is Philip instead of Raoul. Raoul. I don't know. I'm a reader. Not much of a public speaker, but I am a reader. And I do enjoy various depictions of the Phantom of the Opera. That said, this Phantom of the Opera musical, the new one, Love Never Dies. I mean, there are a lot of good songs in it. I kind of like it. There are some jaunty tunes. Very 1910, 1920 America sound. You know, you get to visit Coney Island and see how the Phantom of the Opera interacts with the Coney Island set, which is quite a diverse set. Anyway, I am making this review-esque thing that I'm doing based on my listen to the Amazon.com sampler of the soundtrack from the new musical. Spoiler alert, I'm about to tell you the ending of the new musical. Turn your computer off now if you don't want to know what happens, and I guarantee you, you will be angry when you hear it. Madame Geary, in Love Never Dies, Madame Geary is the villain. Madame Geary is the main boss. Madame Geary tries to drown Eric's baby. It's like way out of left field. This would never happen. You know, you look at Madame Geary as a character in the Phantom of the Opera musical, 1986, 1985, circa. This would never happen. This is an alternate universe. And Raoul is a drunken idiot. And I am not a particularly big fan of Raoul. I mean, I may have called him a fop a few times. But, you know, I like romantic, interested, compassionate Raoul. And when you see drunken idiot Raoul or hear his voice, it's so distracting, and I don't know, I have very little tolerance for drunken idiot Raoul. And I understand, or Raoul, I don't know how fans prefer me to say it. I don't know what the general consensus is. I know there are many haters. Haters want to hate, lovers want to love. There are many haters for the new musical out, and I haven't seen it, so I can't express an explicit opinion, but I can see a lot of problems with the plot that bother me. You know, I don't have a problem with Phantom sequels in general, because, I mean, it's all fan fiction. Phantom of the Opera, Broadway musical, fan fiction. Susan Kay's Phantom of the Opera, fan fiction. I mean, they're making money, but it's not as though it has any mythical canon surrounding it that makes it true. I just thought I would put that out there and allow you to palate it if you would. And if you happen to think of me, if you happen to remember, listen to my other little blogs.